we didn't really hammer Kurt on how bad a coach he was and how bad he was with players. I remember him screaming let me put it this way, he screamed a word that nobody should ever use in our language. And I like cussing. I'm okay. I'm not a prude. I like cussing. There are a lot of words I'm happy to use. He used a curse word at a player standing in the middle of the court and target center that nobody should ever say in public. But again, because Khan was such an easy target, I don't think we hit quite enough on how bad Kurt was at his job. And you don't have to follow up on that. I'm just going to leave that where it is. Hey, we've told you about Gloria Ramsey. We've told you about SuccessfulMarketingGroup.com. You go to SuccessfulMarketingGroup.com/Cheryl Reeve. And if you are a small business, if you're a medium business, if you're a business that doesn't want to overpay for service and wants to get personalized service, Lori can help you get found. She can help you find the right customers. She can boost your business just as she has grown her own business and helped me grow my business. And by the way, adding the Go for Sports show that I talked about is one of the things we'll be doing in the next couple of months to expand TalkNorth.com, and I appreciate all of Lori's help. But this week, we want to talk specifically about Lori's work in putting together the winter wear drive. Again, the website is www.care, wwd.care. You can find out where you can donate. I'm going to be donating later because I won't be here for the actual show. The donations are tax deductible, and there's lots of stuff on the website. I won't read it all because you can read it yourself. But the reminder: Sunday, December 15th, 3:30 to 6:30. The podcast with Cheryl and Jana starts about 4:20. It's at Lush, Minneapolis. That's not like a little soap store. It's actually a business up in kind of by the North Loop, 990 Central Avenue Northeast. Get there early because these things tend to draw a lot of people and a lot of great people. I highly recommend it, and I really appreciate Lori's work and Cheryl and Jana's willingness to put this on. So Megan Rapinoe, and let me find the exact description of her title. I think she was a Sports Illustrated Athlete of the Year. I think she was the fourth woman to win it by herself, not sharing the title with somebody else. I know you're a big fan. I just thought I'd throw that out there to you.
Yeah, the fourth woman in a 66-year history.
Yes.
So obviously a remarkable achievement, in a world of gender bias. Just so fitting. I think it's a kind of the sign of the times when you think about not only Megan, the player. I've said before how much appreciation I have for what she does on the pitch. I've been around Megan. She's actually, pretty low key, and obviously the kind of the World Cup and the lawsuit, for equal pay, and this just has become, her spat with the president. She's just become this massive icon in women's sports. And, I think it was Julie Foudy, and I think about Julie Foudy and Mia Hamm and the 99ers that, sort of got this thing going, where Mia Hamm, I think maybe Julie Foudy asked Mia Hamm, do you think we would have done this in terms of, the fight for equal pay? And it's such a sign of the times. And this is what, for me, this is what I think about in the 80s. This is even before Mia Hamm and Foudy. The reply was, we probably would have said, let's just win. Let's just do what we're supposed to do, plant the flag, that they had been socialized not to stir the pot for fear of retribution. And I just think about, so many years of women accepting, being treated, being marginalized when it comes to resources and opportunities. And, there are so many places we can say this. There's so many things that are coming to the forefront. We can talk about the way women are, abused, that there are things that have gone on for years that we just didn't talk about. Women's sports is a part of that. And it was just a really cool moment in the piece that I read, and I thought that says everything, that the courage that Megan Rapinoe has And then I think many of the athletes today, I think the same is true for women's basketball players. I think the group that's coming up is far more aware of their value and ways that we all can do better to support women's sports and make it more not only more popular but more profitable. And that it's a missed opportunity, an underserved sort of fan base. And so I think, there's so much that Rapinoe is doing, not only winning gold medals, but to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated is exactly, I guess, the epitome of how big she's become. Like I said, this is the fourth woman in 66 years, and the movement that she's a part of, that young girls, when I watched their celebration, I believe they were in New York, and to see young girls there talk and holding signs and referring to equal pay, how meaningful that's going to be for the next generation. It's really, really powerful to see.
Absolutely. We're going to do 2 Cheryl Reeve shows this week. We really want to highlight the Winter Wear Drive and get people out to that. And we want to catch up on some shows and some topics. Our show later in the week, we're going to talk about just Cheryl's 10 years in Minnesota. It's been about 10 years now. And I know Maya Moore, at least one website, called her the preeminent WNBA player of the 2010. Sylvia Fowles is on that list. We have we're going to do a lot of big picture stuff. This is going to be a more topical show, but listen to that one later. And remember, wwd.care. We also want to thank Cara Quinn, Cara Quinn, longtime sponsor of this program now. She's a realtor at Brick and Bannister Real Estate Company. You can find her at Cara at brickandbannister.com. That's Bannister with one N, as I always remind you. And remember, she went to the University of Minnesota. She went to St. Thomas. She has worked in all kinds of fields locally. She fell in love with architecture. On a trip to Italy, she came back, and now she's the person who will find you the ideal house, the beautiful house, the cute house, the house in the great neighborhood. There's so many great neighborhoods in Minneapolis and St. Paul. My wife and I are living in the suburbs because of her job right now. We hope to someday get down there, and I will definitely be using Cara's services when that time comes. So if you need a realtor, selling, buying, advice, friendly advice, Cara's the person. Caraquinn. Google her, find her on Zillow, on LinkedIn, wherever you want. You'll be able to find her very easily. And thank you to Cara for sponsoring the program. Have you caught up with Whalen's team? And what did you think of the victory over Notre Dame?
Yeah, I've been in touch with Lindsay over the last few weeks pretty steadily, and I messaged her. I knew it was a big game. I messaged her afterwards. And anytime you win on the road, but then, when you win in a place like that, despite, everybody knows that Notre Dame graduated, 5 WNBA players. And so, but the expectation would be that, they're a championship program. So to go there to win that game, I knew it was a big game. I knew the momentum, I think, that Lindsay felt around her team, and I knew that she felt really good going into the game. And then they left from there to go to D.C., won at American last night, played George Washington, coming up. I think Lindsay feels really good about where her team is, and the win was great. I kept checking in on the scores. They were up, I think it was 12 at half, and the score was exactly what I thought it would be. It was a low scoring affair. And then, things kind of got moving a little bit more in the second half. I think Notre Dame had tied it. And so, those were really, I think, significant moments. I think Lindsay will tell you that last year's team may not have won that sort of game. And so it's kind of surprising, actually, to have a little more inexperience on her team this year and to win a game like that. So I think a great sign. I think she's pretty excited.
Yeah, I get the sense that this might be a better team than last year's, even though, listen, Kenesha was a heck of a player. I just feel like they're going to be able to shoot it better. And I feel like Lindsay probably had a lot more time this offseason to really install what she wanted to install. Yeah,
when you get in the trenches, you kind of figure out, after you get your first year under your belt, you kind of figure out, okay, what are you really good at? And you start to identify, what you want your identity to be. I think the player that's playing really well is Taya Bello. who she's just, there's just so much value in being able to rebound the basketball when you get your team extra possessions, or ends an opponent's possession the way that she does. It's just really, really valuable. So I think she's having a nice season. And then obviously, I think they've got good balance. I think where maybe in years past, whether it's Carly Wagner, who scored 2,000 points, or whether it's someone like Kenesha Bell, who had the ball in her hands a lot. I think there's now a little bit more balance. Not to say it's a bad thing for Kenesha Bell or Carly Wagner. I think those players that can put the ball in the hole have tremendous value, but it seems to be a little bit more by committee this season.
Absolutely. Let's do a Twitter question to wrap this show up. Again, we'll have another show later this week, and then the Winter Wear Drive is on Sunday, wwd.care. From JP on Twitter, when scouting for the draft, how much weight or thought goes into a player's current or past injury history? Like if they miss games with a nagging injury as a senior, does a team shy away from her even if she's a top 5 pick talent-wise when healthy?
Well, we spent a lot of time vetting a player, and certainly the injury history is one that we just like to get a lot of information on. And as a coaching staff, we defer to our medical staff, whether it's the orthopedic surgeon in Dr. Nancy Cummings, or whether it's Chuck Barter and his staff, and they go through a pretty extensive process in sort of ranking the prospects in terms of what they think. Devereaux Peters might be the best example. I think Devereaux Peters might have had 4 surgeries as a college athlete, and you certainly could shy away from that, because typically if you've been injured in college, that could continue. I think that's the trend, and so I think for us it's a matter of what do you need from the player. In the case of Devereaux Peters, we felt like if we got through her rookie deal, then that was really good value for us, and that's a 4-year situation. So we were willing to, kind of trust the medical team that we have, the resources that we have in our franchise, to be able to weather any storms that might present itself. And Devereaux was, had more surgeries as a professional, but we were always on the right side of that timing-wise. I think there was one time she had a hand injury. She missed a decent part of a season. But I would say overall, it doesn't scare us away, per se. I think it's a matter of, each individual, maybe a specific medical situation. If something really serious presented itself, then it might. But I would say by and large, it doesn't scare us, because we have a great deal of confidence in what we have here in our franchise in terms of being able to support an athlete through some of the physical challenges.
Nathan and Jackie, we'll get to your Twitter questions on the next episode. We appreciate you sending them in. Good stuff from Cheryl. Really good stuff. Appreciate you taking those subjects as much in depth as you did. We'll be back next week to talk about Cheryl's 10 years and some of the great players she's had over the next 10 years, and take a few Twitter questions in the next Cheryl Reeve Show. And again, wwd.care is the website to find out about the event on Sunday. Highly recommend going. Thanks to Brandon. Thanks to our listeners. We'll talk to you again soon.